just like seeing her for the first time.
The player thought that this was amazing. Did he really defeat Cobalt? With one blow, he thinks he is a magician, but he defeated a monster with one kick. His comrade said that he has no idea who he is, but they can fight together if they join forces. But before he could finish speaking, the protagonist told him to get lost. The players were surprised what he replied, that if he touches even one, he will die. Did he understand? The walkers, trembling with fear, looked at him in surprise, and then abruptly turned around and said, "We're going." At that moment, one of the monsters roared loudly. The protagonist paid attention to this and asked, did they want to avenge their comrade? The monsters rushed to attack, but the protagonist put out his staff and, pressing the monster's head to the ground, smashed it. Then he looked up and asked, "What is this doing? Is it not going to attack?" The remaining cobalt turned around and started to run away, and the protagonist, concentrating energy in air, asked, does it think that he will let it escape? Then he used the ability Magic Arrow, and it pierced the monster. A system window appeared in front of him, which said, "Welcome to the first floor." As a reward, he received a cobalt mana stone. He said that it was too late, he had already fought the monsters. He is currently busy with robbery. The system informed him that he had to complete a task to move to the next floor. Quest description: he must defeat Cobalt's progress. 3 out of he thought that this was easy, he can defeat at least. He put his hand to his chin and thought that it would be nice to get the fighter achievement. If you kill a monster 1,000 times, you can get the fighter achievement. In the past, he passed everyone. To get all the achievements, then, he asked if it was time to eat. He put his hand forward and used gluttony. The monster's soul went straight to his mouth. After that he swallowed it, and noticed that he could see the memories of this cobalt. He waited over the power of it. He could now understand the language of the cobalts. Then an information window appeared in front of him. After reading it, he asked, did his stats increase? These are the stats of the TH floor. Then he thought, class adjustment. He is multi-class, so he gets the advantage of each class memories he needs. To hurry, he is starting to get angry. The girl screamed desperately, not a child. The cobalt thought he needed to hurry, it will hurt if he hits. All preparations are complete. The cobalt lord, the protagonist, smiled and thought that the timing was perfect. Monster Lord is the harbinger of a monster wave. He can get the achievement and level up at the same time. Then he said that it would take an entire army to face it. He pointed his hand at the monster's body and commanded it to wrist. The monsters rose into the air and then turned into skeletons, and the system congratulated him on successfully reaching his class. The class was Necromancer. He said that he was all powerful, so he had memories of his past life changing. His class was very easy. He knew that this was not enough. There was also a hidden class, so he needed to go to the first floor. He noticed one of the skeletons looking to the side, and he asked, what was that? He looked to the side and saw several cobalts looking at him, and then he said, well, his soldiers, it can kill everyone in its path of Torah, while he defeated of the cobalts. Tossing a mana stone, he noticed that it should be around here somewhere. He found it. He looked at the wooden house hidden behind the trees. After that he went inside and thought that fortunately no one touched this place. After that he ordered the skeleton to wait outside. He kicked the floor, and it collapsed. A passage down. The protagonist said bingo. And then he started to go down and thought, a hidden class on the first floor. Necromancer is a high class that allows you to absorb souls. A spiritual master. He threw mana stoneasis. He went down the stairs. He thought that the very first spiritual master was in the coffin of class change. He pulled back the lid of the coffin, and Valkcon flew out. Valkcon asked, is he his descendant? The protagonist thought that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. After an awkward silence, Valkcon said that he didn't think he was surprised at all. He tried so hard to scare him, he even felt awkward now. The protagonist asked, why would a Necromancer be surprised at the sight of a skeleton? He had already read his journal. He had nothing to be surprised about. For a long time he thought the secret item is Valkcon's spiritual master journal. Of course he hadn't read it in his life. When he changed his class to a mage and lost all his items, he found the journal and returned to the first floor, and when he became a spiritual master, he failed to make Valkcon rebel. Then the spiritual master said, I see he likes him. He spread his arms out and said that he was better than that Ilmenard idiot who appeared years ago. The protagonist got angry and thought, "Idiot, should I finish him off?" Then he decided that it would be better to change his class. First after that he coughed, and said that he would like to change his class. Quickly, Valkcon index finger apologized, and explained that he first needed to get to the th floor. The spiritual master class is higher than even a necromancer. First, he needs to change his class again in the class change tower on the floor, and only then the protagonist interrupted him and said that he was already a necromancer. He could take a look after that. He sent him a system window with information about changing his class. The spiritual master shouted in surprise. He changed his class on his own, without going up to the th floor. Amazing what talent, he's even better than that bastard. MC asked if he would change his class or not. He replied that he couldn't stop talking. Then he spread his arms out to the sides and released energy from its spiritual master Valkcon. A long time ago, before the tower appeared on the ground, he was one of the top walkers, although he was the strongest necromancer. He kept looking for ways to become even more powerful. Skin and bones are not enough. Is there anyone stronger? Instead of a lich or a death knight, he wanted to summon someone, a soul. He would summon the soul of the dead, and then he would be able to create someone who would surpass everyone in the end. He managed to create a new class, the spiritual master, but his old body had used up all its strength, and the spiritual master class was on the verge of extinction, so he chose his final path to use necromancy on himself, hoping that his descendants would honor him, so that Valkcon could find a walker to follow in his footsteps. He became half NPC. The next second, energy ignited in the protagonist's chest, and the spirit master cried out in surprise, seeing a terrifying aura surrounding the protagonist's body. He said that this scoundrel he mentioned was the second, and he would be the third spirit master. He could use the soul vessel to catch souls. He could also summon the protagonist. Smirking, mentally thanked him and thought that he now had a soul vessel and his first victim would be him. He had already completed all the preparations. He would not fail twice. The spiritual master congratulated him, and now he must conquer the tower and glorify his name. The protagonist said with a smile, he must do it himself. Valkcon was surprised and then shouted, "Idiot, did he forget about the promisoritan?" In the journal, he replied that shifting his work to others is a bad habit. He will fix it, and for free. The spiritual master asked why he was approaching. No way. After that, the protagonist used soul gathering. Energy burst out of his chest, and like tenacious hands took out Vulcan's soul, splitting into individual bones. He shouted, "Does he think he will let his soul be taken?" The protagonist was glad that he succeeded. Valkcon showed him the middle finger and shouted that this is insulting. He knows this well from his past descendant. They will see each other in hell. But the next second, his skull crashed into the barrier, falling to the ground. He was surprised as this magic. Protagonist asked what he thought. Pretty convenient, right? With the magic wall, a low-class spell he created, a personal prison for him. Valkcon started pounding the wall and shouting, "Does he think he can get away with this? He will break this simple spell in an instant." The protagonist asked, "Did he say that was all?" He scattered mana stones along the way. He uses magic to power it. He said that he can easily break this spell, but will he be able to do it before he gets caught? Valkcon, perplexed, thought, who is he? How can a first floor walker have such abilities? The protagonist then took off his hood and stated that he failed in his past life, but he will definitely not let him go. In this one, Valkcon was surprised in his past life. No way. The protagonist asked, is he still a spiritual master, or can he be considered the third? Valkcon shouted, "Jinyuk." After that, the protagonist used soul gathering, the soul began to be sucked into his chest. Then a skeleton remained in front of him, and the protagonist said not to be upset now that he is with it, all his dreams will come true. After a while, he approached a cluster of skeletons, and the system reported that the Lord of Evil was watching him. The demon watching death was interested in his class. The protagonist thought that gods and demons cannot go to the place of class change. Then he said that he would show it soon. Just don't irritate him. He looked at the skeletons and thought that he will not need this army anymore. He clenched his fists and told this to perish and rise. The souls of the cobalts burst out of his chest, and he said that he thinks that this one can't talk either. At that moment, Valkcon appeared behind him and was indignant. "Idiot. How dare he use Hymas, a spiritual soldier?" He replied that this is the first time he sees him in such a guise. He must have been handsome one. he was young. The spirit him shouted that he would not let this go. He must not underestimate him, the first spirit master. He concentrated energy in his hands and rose into the air, but the next second it was as if the air in hisslings ran out, and he fell to his knees. The protagonist told him not to overdo it. He was alive thanks to his mana. If Hekatoff the axis, he would immediately dissipate into the wind. Valkcon asked, did he think he would listen to him? A loyal dog. He leaned towards him and asked, does he have a choice? Yes. He turned their souls into a ballant, swallowed them. He hoped that he had not forgotten what his specialty was, Valkcon thought. Gluttony. Does he still have this crazy skill? If he does not obey, he will just swallow him then, he said. Okay, what is he going to do now? The protagonist asked, and he still does not understand. He pointed his finger at the castle on the mountain and said they needed to get rid of this idiot, the Cobalt Lord. After some time, the protagonist arrived at the right. Placetwo Cobalts stood in his way. He smirked and released souls, which easily dealt with the obstacle. Then he looked up and saw several more monsters. He thought ghostly Cobalt soldiers. They were no match for him anymore, and anyway he was not going to sit idly by. He threw the spear on his back and said with a smile that this should lead him to its master idiot. Meanwhile, Callum the Cobalt Lord asked in surprise an intruder. They must quickly prepare the offering at this point. The protagonist continued to walk deeper into the castle, killing monsters that he encountered along the way. At that moment, a hole opened in the ceiling above him from which several kobolds jumped out, but his souls easily dealt with it, and the protagonist, grabbing his sword, cut the rest of the monsters. Then he said that the hidden class is great. He noticed an approaching aura. The room where the Cobalt Lord is, a system window appeared in front of him, which said that the Lord of Evil was supporting him, swinging lightsabers his side, and declared that he did not need the support of an old man with hairy legs. He would win anyway. Meanwhile, Callum stabbed the dagger into the body, and repeated again, until he is satisfied. You cannot stop glory to the demon. Wow, it's his death. At that moment, he heard a voice. Let me go, it asked. The next victim turned around, and saw two of his subordinates holding Haru, and was surprised. Is it an Oni? Coming closer, he took her hand and laughing asked, what they have here? And she will be better than an ordinary person. The next second, her hand was knocked out of his hand by the protagonist, and the Lord, looking at him, shouted. So it was him, the idiot? The protagonist asked, with a smile. What was he doing here, making sacrifices, summoning? Okay, it doesn't matter. That Mac. They are finished anyway. Callum looked at him and said, here he is. The uninvited guest, the protagonist smiling assumed, and he must be the Lord of the Cobalts. It is clear from his appearance that he is the leader of Thescom. He indignantly shouted that he is Callum, the king of the Cobalts. A man should show respect. The protagonist noted that he is painfully arrogant for a monster of the first floor. He must force him at this point. Haru, sitting on the floor, did not understand what was happening, but the Cobalt Lord was distracted by this. Manthis was her chance. She got up from her seat and began to run in the opposite direction, but Callum, noticing this, shouted, where was she going, you wretch? A demon watching death. He must give him power. He put his hand in front of Hyman and began to concentrate energy in it. The protagonist was surprised. A demon watching death. Then the Cobalt King used this ability. A corpse bomb to sharp fangs went straight for Haru. She put her hand forward and then fell to the ground and thought, no, she will not let herself die. At this moment, the protagonist went to her and reflected Callum Sadak. He was indignant his attack. He just went and reflected it. Haru thanked the protagonist, and he said that she forget and just run from here. Then he saw the horns on her head and asked, is she an Oni? Oni are powerful creatures that live on the 100th floor. They have no reason to go down any lower, especially a lone female, not even Oflegal age. Something happened on the TH floor. We need to save her, to ask her about everything later. Callum continued to shout indignantly, how dare he interfere with the sacrifice to the Almighty. The protagonist said that if she didn't want to die, she should hide somewhere, and he wouldn't stand up for her twice, unheaded for the exit. And then answered, okay then. The king of the Cobalts shouted that he must try to reflect this blow. A fresh corpse will be even more powerful. The stomachs of his subordinates seemed to swell, and he shouted, corpse bomb. The next second his subordinates exploded, but the protagonist ran forward and smirked. Too slow, he punched his opponent in the chin, flying back. He wondered where the walker from the first floor got such strength from. The protagonist asked what was he doing. They had just started. Then Callum shouted, "A demon watching death, he must save him." The next second the protagonist ran at the enemy. But a huge clot of blood flew out of the container behind the cobalt, grabbed his hand, and it turned into a blood golem. The protagonist was surprised. How did he manage to summon such a high creature? Golem hit the protagonist on the ground. Callum laughed and shouted, "How did he do that? Did he see it? This is his strongest ritual." The protagonist clarified, "A ritual? Does he even understand who he is talking to right now? He must let him introduce him to his ritual." Many cobalt souls flew to attack the golem. The creature inflated, and then it exploded, releasing souls out. The king of the cobalts was surprised. He destroyed his golem in a second. The protagonist said that even the lords of monsters do not have such an easy time creating golems. Isn't this his doing? Thiedman, who watches death, Boone the system, reported that he was defeated. Boone nodded silently. Bale looked on with disdain. The protagonist said he was curious about what he could do as a spiritual master, and he summoned a blood golem when he saw it fighting one of his followers, and it was just a puppet. Mana ran outright. That was expected. Boone had summoned the golem on purpose. Callum shouted that it couldn't be. He would find him. He would take revenge. If Hedid, the protagonist, put his hand forward and directed the souls at the enemy, and said that it would be nice he had something to tell him. The souls grabbed the lord, and he shouted that this should let him go. He was their king. Have they forgotten a demon watching death? The protagonist said, "Boone, his toy is finished in vain. He decided to give him a test. He will regret it, and anyway he will make sure that he pays for what he did." Boone laughed heartily, saying Thathley liked it. The protagonist clenched his fist, and blood splashed in all directions.